Snail is a gastropoda-classed animal whose ancestors are one of the earliest known types of animals in the world. There is fossil evidence of primitive gastropods dating back to the late Cambrian period. This means that they lived nearly 500 million years ago. These animals survive on land, fresh water, and some species live in water like the sea snails and slug. Snails are able to adapt to a variety of living conditions and they don't require large amounts of food. They have been able to continually evolve to survive the conditions around them, which many researchers find to be very fascinating. Land snails range greatly in size, while some of them are only a few inches long and often weigh less. There are land snails that reach almost 12 inches, like the giant African land snail, a species common in Africa.
Yeah, we have the achatina, we have the marginata, and we have the fulica. But most time I read the marginata and achatina. The achatina, when you check the end of the shell, now you see some pointed. Then that's the achatina. Then those ones that look oval shape at the bottom, at the end of the shell, those are the marginata. But the fulica always kind of having some kind of let me just say those are the common ones we see, and not kind of too big. Those are the fulicas.
Snails move at an incredibly slow speed. An average adult moves at a speed of 1 millimeter per second. While moving, snails leave behind a trail of slime, a lubricant they produce to allow them to easily move across any type of terrain without injuring its body. Land snails aren't able to hear at all, but they use their sense of smell, which is their most important sensory organ, to help them find food. The snail shell is made of calcium carbonate and keeps growing as long as the snail grows. They keep adding more calcium carbonate to the edge of the shell until the snail reaches adult size. So what are the benefits of the snail?
We can say that snail is special in the sense that it's a proteinous food. It's of course an animal, which is basically a proteinous food, and it has other nutrients like calcium, and it's equally a good source of iron. But what makes it more beautiful, if I can put it that way, than any other animal protein source is the fact that it has about the lowest source of fat content in it. So if you are watching your weight, or if a doctor has prescribed a diet in low fat and you still want to enjoy your protein source, snail is one of those things that you can easily take and with no fear of taking a lot of fat in.
It was found out that they use snail water to make these traditional herbs for those who are hypertensive, which is very okay, which I've seen them use collected most times and used. And some also use the snail shells, if grinded well, as calcium for chicken feet. Now, then also, we can also say for snailry now, their manure is also good for planting. If you could get a good manure from snails, very good for planting. So at least, and it's a very good delicacy at most, I must confess.
One interesting question is, since snails look alike, is there any way to differentiate between the male and female, and how do they reproduce?
Most snails are just hermaphrodites. They have this both male and female organ within them, so they just keep laying eggs. And let us also note that it's not like every kind of time they lay. Most times the conveniency of the weather and the conduciveness of the weather makes them to lay. comfortably. Most times, that's why you say most times in the rainy season, you see them lay anyhow. They just litter everywhere with eggs. But during the dry season, you rarely see eggs. And even so, you rarely see them around because they will be in hibernation to conserve water. So for that one, during the dry season, it's always kind of difficult thing because you keep watching water. It's not even enough to meet the natural habitat for them. And if you are sorting them out for the big one and the small ones, now when they start hatching, like you should have a nursery for your eggs, because when they start littering everywhere, they might break it. They might even rub it up with slime, which might not even eventually turn into a baby. So most times you separate them after they litter everywhere with eggs. Pick the eggs, find a nursery for them, and that nursery must be very okay. Put those eggs in the nursery. After putting those eggs in, they will hatch. After hatching, then you can move them to another stage.
The average lifespan of a snail is approximately 10 to 15 years in captivity. However, it is believed that some species can live up to 25 years. In the wild, however, lifespan varies from species to species. This snail farmer talks about what can shorten the lifespan of a snail.
The housing has to be very okay, because if you check the housing of my snail now, you see the old concrete, because you see some nets, some mesh nets, then you now have the wood. They are function for those nets. The net has to protect them from any insects, because when insect gets in, they hatch in their shell, and when they hatch, the maggots start feeding on them, which kills them eventually. Those are just most issues. Then again, the water has to be there regularly, constantly. There has to be water to just use for them regularly. That's why I keep pumping water regularly. So water has to be there, and you must protect them from any insect or termites. So that's why I said, if you are building a snail house, if you cannot afford a iron in building, if you are using a wood, you have to be disinfecting the place regularly, like maybe 6 months, intervals of 6 months, 3 months, to disinfect it from termites.
Humans have eaten snails for thousands of years all over the world. However, people can become ill if the snails they eat are not properly cooked, as some of them can carry a parasite that can cause meningitis. It is important to know how to properly prepare snails for consumption.
Just to cut this part away. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be peeling that off. They're still in the slimy state, so I still have to wash them with alum, lemon. But what I'm going to do next, put water on it and add some salt like that, and just let it rest for probably 1 or 2 minutes. I'm going to add my cold water to it now, and that's around 500 ml of cold water, and I'm going to add my alum to that and wash it thoroughly. The whole process of washing might take some time, but it's really worthwhile. Slice my lemon, which I'm going to slice now, and at this stage just going to use that to rub and you know what, the flavor itself in the lemon is quite very good, because it gives us the snail a kind of juicy feel. And open it up. So there we go. What we're going to do next is bring water to boil, and we're going to pour the snail inside the boiling water. Just cover for 20 minutes. It's been cooking for 20 minutes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the water and set aside, as you can see. The red pepper and the yellow pepper. And I'll cover again for another 2 to 3 minutes.
And would you believe, even the slime the snail leaves behind as it moves has its own benefits.
Snail slime has a whole lot of collagen. It boosts the collagen level of the skin, it repairs the skin, it helps hyperpigmentation, redness and all that. It helps in healing them. Like somebody that has stretch marks now, constant application of stretch marks fades off the stretch marks and makes it blend with the walls of the skin. Now for the face, it gives a younger look for the face, yes. It gives a younger look for the face. Instead of going for fillers and all that, when you use slimes on the face, it goes a long way making you to have a young look.
So how does one use this properly?
Some clients won't really want you to be putting snail on their face. So it depends on the client. You can extract the snail slime out of the snail at times. You break off the back, then the slime comes out of it. So this time you won't really use either salt or alum to wash it. Just extract the slime from it before you start washing it.
Rearing snails is a business just like any other. How does one start, and what are the challenges one should look out for?
First of it is getting the pen house ready, because that's very important. The soil has to be very okay, because you cannot expect to use a sandy soil where a snail will stay. It will be like water, it will just be soaking in water, not be able to hold water for long. The feeding doesn't cost you anything at most, because you could just get some waste. Like what I do now, I get the watermelon waste, very not too far from me, for free, because I'm disposing of the waste which can't be eaten anymore. Then for the people who make the ogi or pap, we use their own waste to feed them. Then at most, you now use the vegetable which you can plant in your own backyard, or the ugu vegetable which you can plant in your own backyard to feed them. So it's not like you are buying feed from anywhere. So it's just cost effective and so simple.
And of course, there is a role the government can play in creating the right environment for potential snail farmers.
People don't want to go into it. And again, if you check the small size of the snail and the price you give it in the market, and people don't want to buy because of the price also, it will discourage a farmer to even go into it. But if government could come into it, provide adequate loan, okay, just do it on a large scale. And it will be a longevity of time for the loan to start counting. Yeah, at least I believe that it will encourage farmers to go into it, because it's less stressful, I must say.
Land snails are important players in the forest decomposition process and contributes to the nitrification of soils through their decaying bodies, shells, manure, etc. Their dead shells can form an important source of calcium for older animals in calcium-poor habitats. Land snails are also important environmental indicators and biodiversity predictors, and have a role to play in the monitoring of climate change. This implies that the contribution of snails to the well-being of humans is quite vast, and therefore, though small, the snail is quite a significant creature.